My teenage sister suffers from anxiety. Should I be concerned about substance abuse?
There is definitely a direct link between anxiety and substance use, and our lab is actually the first in the world to highlight why that may be the case. Most substance use cases can originate from anxiety disorders actually, and we are working really hard to understand the biological processes that are involved in the wrong cognition that can occur in anxiety and addiction, hoping that we can tackle where the problem starts. It starts with our brain. And our work is very important because we are only one of a few in the world that actually examine these questions early in life, in children and adolescents. And historically, people have only looked at adults. And we think that's why we haven't had many breakthroughs in this field. We've found out that memories developed early in life, especially ones that involve a lot of emotions, are very hard to forget. So that can lead to relapse with anxiety as well as substance use later in life. But the problem is using these drugs can actually change your brain, creating it to be more anxious, and it starts this vicious cycle. And we believe that by looking at the origin of anxiety and addiction early in life, we can prevent and treat these disorders.
What are the chances that I'll be affected by mental illness in my life?
So you've got a 50% chance that you as an individual will be affected by mental illness during your life. Most of us, if have either been affected ourselves or someone that we know by things like anxiety and depression. So, I think that stat holds up, but it's still astounding. So I'm a basic researcher, and so that means I'm focused on understanding how our bodies work, the molecular details of how our brain works. I'm especially focused on how the cells in our brain talk to each other. And this process is critical because it's not only disrupted in disease and illnesses, but it's also the major target for drugs that are used to treat mental illnesses and many other diseases. If you look through history, all the groundbreaking breakthrough discoveries, things like penicillin, have really come about through this sort of basic research and trying to understand biology. Every day I'm just excited to think that maybe somewhere around the world a discovery like that will happen and it will really help people in the future.
There isn't any history of depression in my family. Why have I been diagnosed with it?
Well, there are many factors that can cause depression. Genetics is just one of them, but there are many environmental factors. I'm particularly interested in hormones. We all have hormones such as estrogen and testosterone in our bodies, but in some people, as these hormone levels change, they can trigger the onset of depression. At the Florey, we're trying to identify what each of the factors are that may be contributing to the onset of depression. So currently, depression is treated as a whole. Everyone's treated with the same medications in the same way, but men and women are different. They have different hormones, and there are many other subcategories. So we need to identify what are the causes in each individual person to lead to better treatments.
If my mum has dementia, does that mean I will get it too?
Probably not, which is the good news. It's true that for a very small number of people, there are genetic causes that if you're unlucky enough to get a copy of a mutated gene from one of your parents, you will end up developing a dementia like Alzheimer's disease. Typically though, these are very rare, less than 1% of cases. So for most people, it's sort of a bit of a bolt out of the blue. The lifetime risk of someone who's 60 getting Alzheimer's disease is sort of somewhere between 15 to 20%, depending on gender. Flipping that around, really means there's sort of an 80% chance that you won't get Alzheimer's disease. It's actually a mystery why we get the disease. I mean, we don't really understand what process goes wrong. And that's the sort of research that I do, is I'm very interested in to try to work out what exactly is it that's going wrong as we get older that makes our brain cells die. I'm really trying to build new tools to study the biochemistry that's occurring inside our brain cells so that we can get new insights, and we're asking questions that we couldn't ask 10 years ago. And so we're learning things we didn't even know we didn't know. And that's the sort of research that I really love. We are pushing back the boundary. That's what's great about the Florey, is you cover that spectrum. It's really nice to be able to fly the flag for fundamental research and its importance. That's, I think, the only way that we're really going to be able to come up with a drug or a therapy that's going to intervene.
My uncle has been diagnosed with motor neuron disease. Can it be cured?
Unfortunately, at the moment, there's no cure available for motor neuron disease or MND. There's 2 clinically approved treatments available, but they give a very modest effect in that they extend survival only about 2 to 3 months. This means that if you're diagnosed with having MND, you only live to about 2 years after the diagnosis. We are working to fast-track our research efforts so we can come up with the treatment much faster. One thing we are doing is using already clinically approved drugs. So we are repurposing these drugs so we can come up with the treatment much faster. Once I started researching on MND, I met MND patients, and after interacting with them, I realized that they are some of the most courageous people I have ever met. This is why at the Florey we are working really hard to find a treatment for MND.
Can young people experience a stroke, or does stroke only happen to older people?
Stroke definitely does occur in younger individuals aged 18 to 65 years. In Australia, we know that 30% of all strokes can occur in this age bracket. I am a young stroke survivor, and discovering research in my undergraduate degree, I realised I had a voice to influence things that were happening for young stroke survivors, particularly in regards to their recovery. Both the Florey and La Trobe University have supported me immensely to complete a PhD after stroke in young stroke, and I think that enables me to have a really unique perspective. I've been able to have a foot in 2 camps, I can wear 2 caps. Being a stroke survivor has allowed me to develop research questions, and being a researcher has assisted me in contributing to input, searching for answers. If we can generate research necessary and obtain the funding needed, we'd like to develop a young stroke survivors clinic through the Florey. Through research, this clinic would focus on improving rehabilitation and addressing needs in recovery recognised for their importance specifically to young stroke survivors.
I am Associate Professor Ji-Hyun Kim.
My name's Dr. Daniel Scott.
I am Dr. Andrea Gogos.
My name's Dr. Simon James.
I am Dr. Nirma Pereira.
My name's Dr. Barbara Wolfenden.
And I research.
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 And I research brain disease.
Every donation to the Florey is a step closer to finding the answer. Be part of the answer. Donate to the Florey today.